everyone, this is OG Star Wars, and thank you again for tuning into my channel where I keep George Lucas era Star Wars in front of you, as well as other news and reviews, compare and contrast, and even lore. So we are discussing a little bit about George Lucas and about the fallacy that has been going on, especially with Disney Star Wars fan, and that fallacy is appeal to authority fallacy, where they resort to saying that the Disney trilogy and anything Filoni or Disney Star Wars does is in tandem or in canon to what George wanted. And this is now going into the Obiwan Kenobi series. I do get a lot of response on Twitter about them saying this is what George wanted, or they're honoring and whatever. So, and then there's this article that came out that also shares that basically the George wasn't involved, that the actors and even the people that are creating the show basically have not talked to George about this. So I don't see why people are saying that this is in tandem with George's canon when it comes to Obi-Wan Kenobi. And so let's go ahead and take a look at this article here. A lot can be covered in this tweet, but we're not going to get into more of the logistics about what Obi-Wan Kenobi's doing other than what the person has to say here. Then you have to no idea and couldn't be more wrong. Obi-Wan is in hiding. He cut himself off from the Force. That's canon from George's head. And that's the key word right here that he says. That's canon from George's head. And referring to George Lucas going back into the fallacy of appeal to authority. And we all know that George wasn't involved in this show. He wasn't involved in the Disney trilogy. So Hayden Christensen was interviewed here by this is from Molly Edwards, and it says Hayden Christensen reveals why he didn't speak to George Lucas before returning as Vader. So this is an exclusive Hayden Christensen interview, and he talks about playing Darth Vader again in Obi-Wan Kenobi. And we all know everything about what's going on with Hayden Christensen here and stuff. So I'm going to skip part of this and go down to just the meat and potatoes about this article. We sat down with Christensen and asked whether he's been in touch with Lucas about the series or his return as Vader. And Christensen says, I have not, no. He tells Total Film. So this is Total Film doing the interview. As for why, though, that will come down to Chow. So this is a keyword. So he has not sat and talked or even reached out to George Lucas about playing Vader again, which I think if I was in such a role and that's the original creator was George Lucas, I think I would, basically pick his brain about the character after Revenge of the Sith, right? But that's just me. And then so it goes into, basically Chow. So Christensen says, I really felt like this was Deborah Chow's story, and I really just wanted to follow her lead on this one. So I'm going to read that again. I really felt like this was Deborah Chow's story. Deborah Chow is not George Lucas's story. This all stems off of George Lucas. This is, his story as well. So there we go. And I really just wanted to follow her lead on this one. And he continues to say, I think what she's done here is just incredibly exciting. And so basically that's what he has to say. And then this goes on to say, but while Christensen didn't talk to Lucas before filming the show, he did explore the characters' appearances outside of the live action movies, including the animated series. So Christensen says here, they did a lot with those characters in the show, Clone Wars and Rebels. So basically he went back and watched those. So basically a lot of mostly Disney stories, Disney Star Wars stories, with some stories that were pre-Disney, because some of the Clone Wars is, right? But we all have mixed reviews about Clone Wars and which, how Anakin was, portrayed in there. And then he goes on to explain, and it's just useful information to have. So I went back and I watched all that stuff. I read some of the comics, which he doesn't reveal which comics. It could be the new comics, or it could be the The Republic comics, we don't know. So I can't really judge much on that other than that he's read comics. And I just tried to immerse myself as much as I could. So there you go, you guys. So we have this right here where it truly shows that, basically no one, at least Christensen, but I really feel that if anybody reached out to George, that would have been published already, out in the news, out in the media, that George Lucas had a say in the direction of which way Kenobi series is going. And this show shares with you that, he didn't speak with them. You would think that, or with George, that you would think he did, especially after hearing, if you go back and look, there are interviews with him and Ewan McGregor about talking about episode 3 and 4 tie up together with the duel at Mustafar and the Death Star. Basically, there was no fight in between. And so you would think with all the time that they spent, especially Hayden Christensen as well, that they would at least pick George's brain on the development of those two main characters that he created himself. And it goes on a little bit more about, about him really knowing the character Anakin through training with, in the, through his acting and his training, for the duel on Mustafar and all that, and all the time that he spent with George on set, really getting into the character. It goes on to that, and that's why I question why he didn't ask, why he didn't pick the brain, George Lucas's brain. So there you have it. So you guys, what do you guys think about this? What do you think about these Disney fans using appealing to authority to make it sound like these stories that are being created, like the Disney trilogy and the stories under Filoni and even Favreau, are in tandem with George Lucas's vision, which we all know they clearly aren't because they break the very movies that he created. I'm not talking about the EU in itself. I'm talking about the 6 movies. So let me know below. And you guys have a great day wherever you are at, and may the force be with you.